I was at my wife's funeral when a woman I'd never seen before approached me and said, "I'm so sorry for your loss, Robert. Jennifer was such a wonderful mother to our children." I stared at this stranger in confusion. "My name isn't Robert, it's Michael. And my wife Sarah didn't have children. We'd been trying unsuccessfully for 3 years, one of the great sadnesses of our 5-year marriage. I think you have me confused with someone else," I said gently, assuming she was another mourner who'd gotten lost in her grief. But the woman looked at me more closely, and her face went white. "You're not Robert Chen." "No, I'm Michael Davis, Sarah's husband." "Sarah's husband?" The woman's voice rose, causing several other mourners to turn and look at us. "Sarah Davis died in that car accident?" "Yes, my wife, Sarah Davis." The woman sat down heavily in a nearby chair, her hands shaking. "Oh my God! Oh my God, this can't be happening! Ma'am, are you okay?" "Did you know my wife?" "Know her? I'm married to her brother Robert. Sarah was my sister-in-law. Except..." She looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. "Except Sarah's name was Jennifer Chen, and she was married to my husband Robert for 7 years. They have 2 children together, Tommy who's 6 and Lisa who's 4. The ground seemed to tilt beneath my feet. "That's impossible. Sarah doesn't have a brother named Robert. Sarah doesn't have children." "Yes, she does. Or did. They live in Portland. Robert's at home with the kids today because they're too young to attend a funeral." I felt like I was having some kind of breakdown. "Ma'am, I think there's been a terrible mistake. My wife, Sarah Davis, died in a car accident 3 days ago. We've been married for 5 years. She was an only child, originally from Seattle, worked as a graphic designer." The woman, who'd introduced herself as Karen, pulled out her phone and showed me a photo. It was Sarah, my Sarah, but she was standing next to a man I'd never seen before, holding 2 young children, all of them smiling at the camera like a happy family. "This is Jennifer Chen," Karen said. "My sister-in-law, taken last month at my daughter's birthday party." I stared at the photo. It was definitely Sarah, but she looked different somehow. Happier, more relaxed than I'd seen her in years. And she was holding children who looked exactly like her. "When was this taken?" 3 weeks ago. Jennifer and Robert have been married for 7 years. They live in Portland, about 3 hours from here." "Portland?" "Sarah travels to Portland for work once a month. She said she has a major client there." Karen and I stared at each other as the horrible truth began to dawn on both of us. "We need to call Robert," Karen said. She dialed her husband's number with shaking hands. I could hear both sides of the conversation. "Robert, I need you to sit down. I'm at Jennifer's funeral, and there's a man here who says he's been married to her for 5 years." "What are you talking about?" Robert's voice sounded exactly like mine had 5 minutes earlier, confused, disbelieving. "Robert, did Jennifer ever mention having another husband?" "Karen, Jennifer's dead. She died in a car accident." "What kind of sick joke is this?" "It's not a joke. There's a man here named Michael Davis who says Jennifer was his wife Sarah, and they've been married for 5 years. The silence on the other end of the phone stretched for what felt like hours. "That's impossible," Robert finally said. "Jennifer and I have been married for 7 years. We have 2 children together. She travels for work, but she's never mentioned being married to anyone else." Karen put the phone on speaker so I could talk to Robert directly. "Robert, my name is Michael Davis. I was married to a woman named Sarah Davis for 5 years. She died in a car accident on I-5 3 days ago. She was driving back from what she told me was a work trip to Portland." "Jennifer died in a car accident on I-5 3 days ago," Robert said slowly. "She was driving home from Seattle, where she said she had a client meeting." "Seattle?" "Where Sarah had told me she was originally from. Where she said she still had work connections." "Robert," I said, "what did your wife look like?" "Blonde hair, green eyes, about 5'6". "She had a small scar on her left hand from a childhood accident." I looked down at my wedding ring, remembering how Sarah used to trace that exact scar with her finger when we watched movies together. "That's my wife," I whispered. Karen was crying now, and I could hear Robert crying through the phone. "How is this possible?" Robert asked. "How could Jennifer be married to both of us without either of us knowing?" Over the next several hours, Karen, Robert, and I pieced together the truth. My wife, Sarah Davis, had been living as Jennifer Chen in Portland for 7 years. 2 years before she'd even met me. She'd created 2 complete identities, 2 complete lives, and had been successfully managing both for 5 years of our marriage. Sarah's work trips to Portland had been her going home to her real family. Her client meetings in Seattle had been her coming home to me. Robert and I compared stories, and the pattern became clear. Sarah Jennifer had told each of us that she traveled frequently for work. She told Robert that she had major clients in Seattle that required monthly visits. She told me she had a major client in Portland that required monthly visits. She'd been living half her time with each family. The children, I said. Robert, when were your children born? Tommy was born 4 years ago. Lisa was born 2 years ago. 4 years ago, Sarah had gone through what I thought was a severe depression. She'd been distant, exhausted, crying frequently. I'd suggested she see a therapist, had been patient and supportive while she worked through what I assumed were hormones and career stress. She hadn't been depressed. She'd been recovering from childbirth and trying to figure out how to manage being a new mother while maintaining her fake marriage with me. 2 years ago, Sarah had gone through another difficult period. More exhaustion, more mysterious illnesses, more time away from home. Again, I'd assumed it was work stress. She'd been having another baby. Robert, did Jennifer ever seem exhausted? Distracted? Like she was managing more than she could handle? All the time, especially the past few years. I kept telling her to quit her job, that we could manage financially without her traveling so much. But she said her work was important to her, that she needed the intellectual stimulation. Sarah had been exhausted because she was living 2 full-time lives. She was being a wife and mother in Portland, then traveling to Seattle to be a wife to me, then back to Portland to be a mother again. Michael, Robert said, did Sarah ever want children? We were trying. She said she wanted kids, but we'd been unsuccessful. She was seeing a fertility specialist. She was seeing a fertility specialist while she already had 2 children. The deception was so elaborate, so sustained that it was almost impressive. Sarah had been pretending to struggle with infertility while secretly raising 2 children with another husband. Karen had been taking notes during our conversation, trying to map out the timeline of Sarah's double life. She was pregnant with Tommy during the first year of your marriage, Michael. She was pregnant with Lisa during your 3rd year. How did you not notice? She traveled constantly for work. Sometimes she'd be gone for 2 weeks at a time. She said it was client demands, project deadlines. She was gone for 2 weeks when she had Tommy, Robert said. Told me she was at the client's site in Seattle working on a major launch. She had your baby during one of her work trips, then came home to me like nothing had happened. Apparently, the funeral director approached us, confused about why the mourners were having such an intense discussion. We explained the situation, and he was as stunned as we were. I've been in this business for 30 years, he said, and I've never seen anything like this. Your wife maintained 2 complete identities for 5 years? We spent the rest of the day going through Sarah's belongings, looking for evidence of her double life. In her purse, we found 2 driver's licenses. One for Sarah Davis at my address in Seattle, one for Jennifer Chen at Robert's address in Portland. 2 complete sets of credit cards, 2 cell phones, 2 insurance policies, 2 lives. Karen found a calendar in Sarah's purse that mapped out her schedule between both families. Color-coded, detailed. She'd been managing 2 households, 2 relationships, 2 sets of responsibilities with the precision of a corporate executive. Look at this, Karen said, pointing to entries in the calendar. Tommy's soccer practice on Tuesdays. Your anniversary dinner on Friday, Michael. Lisa's doctor appointment on Saturday. Your work presentation on Monday, Robert. Sarah had been tracking all of our lives, making sure she could be present for important moments in both families. She never missed anything important, Robert said wonderfully. She was always there for the kids' milestones, for my work events, for family celebrations. She was always there for our important moments too, I said. Anniversaries, birthdays, holidays. How had she managed to be fully present for 2 complete families? We found receipts that showed the financial scope of her deception. She'd been maintaining apartments in both cities. The house I thought we owned together in Seattle, and the house Robert thought they owned together in Portland. She had joint bank accounts with both of us. She'd been contributing to household expenses in both homes, somehow earning enough money to support two complete lifestyles. Her graphic design business, I said. She always said she had clients all over the Pacific Northwest. She told me the same thing, Robert said. Said that's why she had to travel so much. Sarah had been using her legitimate work to fund and justify her double life. She was actually successful enough to financially support two households, which made the deception even more elaborate. The most devastating discovery was a safety deposit box that Karen found a key for in Sarah's wallet. Inside were documents that revealed the full scope of Sarah's planning. Birth certificates for Tommy and Lisa Chen listing Robert as the father. Our marriage certificate from 5 years ago. Robert and Jennifer's marriage certificate from 7 years ago. Life insurance policies for both identities. Wills leaving her assets to both families. Medical records under both names. Sarah had been living two lives so completely that she'd prepared for what would happen to both families if she died. She left everything to both of us, Robert said, looking through the documents. The house in Portland goes to me and the kids. The house in Seattle goes to you, Michael. She set up college funds for Tommy and Lisa and left instructions for both of us about how to handle her death. Even in death, Sarah had been trying to protect both of her families. The hardest part was realizing that neither Robert nor I had really known Sarah at all. We'd each known half a person, half a life, half a truth. The woman I was married to, Robert said, was devoted to our children, passionate about her work, excited about the future we were building together. The woman I was married to, I said, was supportive, affectionate, committed to our marriage despite our struggles with infertility. But who was she really? Karen asked. We'd never know. The real Sarah, if there was a real Sarah, had died with her in that car accident. Robert and I decided to handle the situation quietly. We didn't want the children to know about their mother's double life, at least not until they were old enough to understand. We agreed to tell people that Sarah and Jennifer had been twin sisters who died in the same accident. The media never found out about the bigamy. The legal complications were handled privately. Robert kept the house in Portland and gained full custody of the children. I kept the house in Seattle and her business assets. But we stayed in contact. Tommy and Lisa were Sarah's children, which made them connected to my life even though I'd never known they existed. 6 months after Sarah's death, Robert brought the children to Seattle to meet me. I was their late mother's husband from her other life, which made me something between a stepfather and an uncle. Tommy looked exactly like Sarah, but he had expressions I'd never seen on her face, probably inherited from Robert. Lisa had Sarah's laugh, but directed at jokes I'd never heard her tell. These children were living proof that Sarah had been capable of joy, spontaneity, maternal love, qualities I'd rarely seen during our marriage. Mommy always said she had to work in Seattle, Tommy told me. She said she missed us when she was gone, but she had to help people with important projects. She did help people, I told him. Your mommy was very good at her work. Did you know our mommy? Lisa asked. I knew a woman who looked just like your mommy, I said. She was very kind and very smart. Robert and I developed an unlikely friendship based on our shared experience of loving someone who hadn't really existed. We'd both been married to fragments of Sarah, neither of us getting the complete person. Do you think she loved us? Robert asked during one of our conversations. I think she loved the idea of us. I think she loved the different parts of herself that she got to be with each of us. But was it real? The love we felt for her was real. The life she built with your children was real. The marriage she committed to with each of us was real to her, even if it wasn't honest. A year after Sarah's death, I moved to Portland, not to be closer to Robert and the children, but because Seattle held too many memories of a woman who had never really lived there full time. I see Tommy and Lisa regularly now. They call me Uncle Michael and have accepted me as someone who loved their mother in a different life. They don't know the truth about Sarah's double life, and they may never need to. Sarah's double life lasted 5 years and ended only because of a random car accident on a highway between her two worlds. If she hadn't died, she might have continued living two lives indefinitely. I sometimes wonder if there were signs I missed, clues that would have revealed her deception. But looking back, I realized that Sarah had been incredibly skilled at compartmentalizing. When she was with me, she was completely present as my wife, Sarah. When she was with Robert and the children, she was completely present as Jennifer the mother. The woman who could live two lives for 5 years wasn't a monster or a sociopath. She was someone who had gotten caught between two versions of herself and had found a way to be both simultaneously. I'll never understand why Sarah chose to live such an elaborate deception instead of choosing one life or the other. But I know that both Robert and I lost someone we loved, and Tommy and Lisa lost a mother who adored them. The double life that lasted 5 years touched more people than Sarah probably ever realized. 2 husbands, 2 children, extended families, friends, co-workers. All of us were living with someone who was only partially there. Sometimes I think about the woman Sarah might have been if she'd felt able to be her complete self with one person. But that woman died in a car accident while traveling between her 2 worlds, and we'll never know who she really was underneath all the careful deception. The most shocking thing about discovering my spouse's double life wasn't the betrayal. It was realizing that love and lies can coexist so completely that you never question which one is real.